What's up everybody, my name's Sergio, I'm with Mobility Direct, and in today's video, you're gonna learn how to adjust brake calipers on your mobility scooter that aren't acting right. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm gonna put a hidden message on the screen somewhere towards the end. If you spot it, it's gonna give you access to an exclusive discount that'll allow you to save big on your next purchase at Mobility Direct. So I've got the Baja Bandit on a box with the front lip hanging off the box. Any platform will do. Basically what we're trying to do is spin the front wheels to see if they're stopping too short. Okay, so you see that's the issue right there. That wheel stops right away, this one keeps going. Your wheel should keep spinning freely as long as it's lubricated and the bearing's in good shape. It should keep spinning like that. Look how this one's not. And that tells you, in most cases, that you've got some resistance because the caliper brake pad is rubbing up against the rotor or the disc. Okay, so this is a Baja Bandit. It has a disc brake. You could see because it has a brake handle. Most mobility scooters have automatic brakes, but a lot of the fast scooters are required to have supplementary disc brakes to help you slow down faster. You have to take the wheel off to be able to visually inspect the disc and the caliper. So let's do that. With this model, we need a 5mm hex bit. Now we actually have a full teardown of this model on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see what it's like to tear this thing down to the nuts and bolts, learn how to maintain it, how to replace parts, check that video out. Our YouTube video is full of repair videos, DIY videos, but not only that, folks, we actually have a lot of entertainment videos, educational videos, of course, your average unboxing and assembly tutorials, product reviews, comparisons. But I think what we're known for as being one of the leading YouTube channels in the industry is our documentary videos. We show you what it's like to travel all over the world, go on airplanes, cruise ships, trains, buses. So you know what to expect if you've never used one of those transportation services or if you've never gone on those types of vacations with a mobility device, whether it's a power wheelchair or a mobility scooter. You can learn a lot through our YouTube channel. We also give back to the disabled community all the time. Part of every sale goes towards funding our community donation program, where we give away free mobility scooters, power wheelchairs to people in need. A lot of these folks are homeless or they're just struggling to get around with a walker, a pair of crutches, or a cane. They can't walk very well and they just can't afford a mobility device. And that's part of our mission, is to give back to the community as often as we can. So by shopping with Mobility Direct, you're not only going to get the best prices, tax-free sales, free shipping, you're going to be a part of that movement. So consider shopping with us if you want to join that movement and help make someone's life better. All right, so we've got the tire off. This is not a split rim. This is a full wheel assembly. Here is the disc, okay? And we're going to go ahead and visualize now the caliper, which I can already see is not rubbing. Okay, so what that tells me is that this bearing might just be a little stuck because the bolt might be a little too tight. That could be an issue too, or it could just need some lubrication. We're gonna find out. All right, so I just want to show you, there's the caliper and the brake pad, and you can see there is actually a gap there. It's not rubbing, okay? The issue is related to something else. There's some resistance here. It's just not spinning freely the way it should. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna loosen up this bolt first and see if maybe by just slightly loosening it, that'll help. It might just be too tight. I'm also gonna spray some WD-40 and kind of lube up the bearings on both the front and the back side. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I've got my socket here. This is a 1/2" socket, and you can see when you spin this thing, it's just barely moving now. And when you loosen it, this bolt right here that's actually got a washer behind it and basically pushing the whole hub assembly up against the axle, it starts to spin freely, and that's what you want. Okay, it doesn't hurt to add some WD-40, so I'm gonna do that as well, but that was really the issue. Now we have another scooter with a brake issue as well, where I can clearly hear the caliper is too tight and the brake pad's rubbing against the disc, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that one. But this was a good example to show that it may have seemed like the brake pad was touching the disc and causing it to not spin freely, but it wasn't. It was actually just the bolt a little too tight. Now you want to have an understanding of this bolt and the role it plays. If it's too loose, and this is an off-road scooter, eventually it might come out just from the vibrations. So you don't want this thing to be extremely loose. You want to kind of tighten it back up until you've got just enough play to where it's tight, but it's not too tight. So obviously if I go too hard, that's too tight, right? It's not even spinning. If I loosen up just another quarter of a turn, it's spinning pretty good. Another quarter of a turn, now it's really spinning. And if I pull back and forth on it a little bit, I don't feel any play. You don't want any play. You don't want that thing to be loose. You want it to be just right. So I'm going to apply a little bit of WD-40 and give it another quarter of a turn and see if I can get it to keep spinning. All right, now because there are 2 bearings here, I'm actually going to take this bolt all the way out. All right, so here is the hub assembly here, and you can see there's a bearing on this side and a bearing on that side. So I'm going to spray both sides a little bit. Even though there's a cover on there, WD-40 will make its way into the ball bearings. Just let it kind of soak on top for a sec, let gravity do its thing, maybe spin it around a little bit, and you're gonna get a little bit of that lubrication that you want in there. Not too much, okay? Just a little spray is all you need. Then I'm gonna clean it off a little bit, make sure there's no excessive amounts of WD-40 spray that's dripping everywhere. We don't want to get that on the floor. It's very, very slippery, so be careful when you're doing this. Have a towel handy, and then just slide it back on. Now there is a little, oh yeah, look at that. That is spinning good. Now when you put it on, it might have a little resistance because there is that little tube in the middle that's in between the 2 bearings. It has to be lined up perfectly, so you might have to spin it around as you're pushing it on, but that's how you want it to be spinning. Okay, so go ahead and get your washer and your bolt back in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it finger tight at first. There is a little Loctite on there. That's good. You can reapply Loctite too. That's not a bad idea, so that it's in there good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this back on. Okay, that's too tight. Go back. Still a little too tight. That's perfect. Okay, pull back and forth a little bit. No play, that's what you want. So let's go ahead and put this tire back on and take a look at another example where the brake pad is definitely rubbing against the disc. All right, so I've got one of the bolts through there, really nothing to it. You just want to make sure you line up the screw with the hole on the hub, and it takes a little practice, but you want to just line it up and get that thread in there just enough to where it bites on. And then go ahead and start adding the other 3 bolts to secure the wheel assembly to the hub. You got to line up the holes. Now, by the way, folks, check this thing out. You see how the wheels rock from left to right there? That's like a 4th or 5th suspension system that this unit has. This thing has front coil suspension, rear coil suspension, that articulation feature that I just showed you, and the seat even has a suspension system on it as well. This thing is super smooth, and if you want to learn more about this model, I highly recommend checking out our in-depth review video. I'll put the link in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you want to watch it, you'll learn all there is to know about it. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. Don't be shy. I reply to every single comment on our YouTube channel within 1 business day. So if you have any feedback, a suggestion for a topic in the future, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And I just want to thank you so much for the support. Watching our videos, engaging with them, commenting, liking them, sharing them is how you help the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and let's go ahead and get that other scooter out with the disc and the caliper issue and start working on that next. Okay, folks, now I just tightened everything back up. Wheels are spinning, and when I hit the brake, check out, this tire stops, but that one takes a lot longer. So it seems like that brake caliper needs to be tightened a little bit. So that's actually good. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that on this model. I'm actually gonna backtrack a second, take the tire off, and show you how to make that brake pad a little bit tighter. All right, folks, so if I pump the brakes, you could see it starts to touch, but it's not touching enough and hard enough to stop the brakes compared to the left side. It's taking too long. So to tighten this brake cable, all you really need to do is loosen that bolt first, pull back on this cable, get it a little tight, and then retighten that bolt. That's it. There's really nothing else to it. So let's get started. You're gonna need a 5mm hex. Now I recommend putting some tension on this while you're loosening. Okay, what you could do is, there is a little curve here in the cable. Grab it right there, okay? And have some tension on it prior to loosening this bolt right here. Because what you don't want to happen is for this cable to just get sucked back in, and then it'll become really loose and you don't really know the origin point of tightness, if you will. So you want to know that when you release this, it's not going to pull back. The cable's not going to spring back and get super loose. Now you have no idea where your starting point was in terms of tightness on this cable. It's all about how tight this cable is. So I'm going to put some tension with my pliers here that's biting onto the cable. I'm going to loosen just enough for that cable to start sliding towards me, right? That's how we're going to tighten it. So I'm going to loosen, keep loosening. Eventually, the little clamp there is going to loosen up, and I'm going to pull towards me with the cable a little bit. I'm going to loosen up a little bit more. Okay, and I can feel that it's getting close to being loose enough. It's going to do another half turn on this cable, on this bolt there, and now it's really loose. Okay, and I could pull towards me and then retighten. Really don't need much adjustment on these brake systems. Very small adjustments. That's what you want to do, and then check afterwards. Okay, so I pulled on it just maybe 1/8 of an inch, and I'm spinning it now, and I'm going to test it. Okay, it's still a little loose, I'd like for it to be a little tighter, so we're gonna do a different adjustment this time. All right, folks, now there's something else you can do if this cable is not coming out. And that's what I was experiencing. When I loosened up this bolt, I really wasn't able to pull the cable back. There was no slack. It was extremely tight. So there's a secondary adjustment area that you can work on here. And that's where this black cable meets this nut and this little, it's kind of like a nut also that you would have to use a pair of pliers to loosen up. So what you want to do is bring this back. So you're going to want to loosen this counterclockwise, right? And you're going to see the threading. If you go this way, you're tightening it and you're bringing it in, driving it in more. You want this threading to pull back outside of the spring area. I don't know if you could see that, but basically if you loosen this up, you're going to allow yourself to get a little bit more play on the tension here. And then when you go to loosen up that nut the second time, you're going to see that it actually pulls out a little bit more. Okay, and it's just going to take some trial and error. So when you get it real nice and tight, pull towards you, tighten this back up. Go ahead and test the handbrake out. I'm pulling the handbrake. It stopped right away. And that's what you want. You want that brake pad to hit it without feeling like you're pulling super hard on the handbrake. There we go, that's what we want. Now every scooter model is different, but you should always have a cable that you need to adjust the tightness on with a bolt that's clamping that cable with this little clamp system as you loosen and tighten it. Pull on it to make it tighter, loosen it if the brake pad is rubbing. Okay, so if it's too tight, you need to do the opposite. You need to just loosen that up, let the cable go back in a little bit so that it's loose, and you're not gonna have the issue where this brake pad's always rubbing against the hub. You don't want that. That would be the opposite problem of what we're dealing with now. And we're actually gonna take a look at another scooter right now with that exact issue and talk through it and see what we can do to resolve the issue. By the way, folks, before we get too much further into this video, I want to tell you about our free product catalog. It has all of our latest products, discount codes, and a ton of information about our company. If you want a copy, go to our website, mobilitydirect.com. Click on the green button at the top of every page that says free catalog. Fill out the simple short form that you see on the screen now, and you'll get one in the mail within 1 to 2 weeks tops. You could also just call the number below, speak with one of our friendly non-commissioned sales experts, give them your address over the phone, and they'll process that request for you by phone. Or you could just click at the top right-hand corner of the screen where it says Get Free Catalog. It'll take you right to the form. Keep in mind, we're not just an online business, folks. We're A-rated with the Better Business Bureau with several locations. So if you want to come on by, bring your scooter in for repairs, check out some of our products, we'd love to have you. We'd love to earn your business. All right, folks, so I've got a Maxima scooter here. I took the rear wheel off. On the right side, there is a disc brake assembly. Okay, not on the left side. Now this is a Woodruff key. Make sure you don't lose it. We have a whole video explaining what this is. It's very important. So when you take your tire off, make sure you don't lose it. It belongs right in the little groove on the axle there. Now if I spin this disc, you could just hear it rubbing. Listen. It's rubbing up against the pad. Okay, I don't know what the pad's made out of. These aren't performance Shimano brakes, but I can hear it rubbing. And when you ride the scooter, it's squeaking, and the customer is not happy about that. So we're going to adjust the brakes, see what it's going to take. I went ahead and started to diagnose this, and I could see that the wheel assembly is actually going to push back on this and bite onto these two notches right here and right here. And that's why you have on the wheel assembly on the back side, two grooves that bite onto those notches. So you've got the groove for the Woodruff key and then the notches on the back side of the wheel assembly to bite on to those tabs, if you will, that are going to push the brake disc back into place. And in here we do have ceramic brake pads, and they're being pushed apart by a little spring, kind of a V-shaped metal piece, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to take this whole system apart really quick, and I will tell you that, like I said earlier, you know, mobility scooters are not meant to have high-end performance brake parts or brake assemblies on them. These are bare minimum type of brake assembly systems. So, you know, don't expect there to be a user manual with very detailed information on how to adjust the brakes, because it's just not. Okay, your expectations need to be adjusted a bit. These brake systems here this specific brake system uses ceramic brake pads. Okay, and there's a little groove in the middle of the brake pad on the front and the back, which is being used by this little piece of metal, and this is basically what's spacing them apart. Okay, this is not NASA engineering here. Okay, so this is a very kind of low quality braking system, if you ask me. There's not much we can do here to be able to adjust this. Okay, the brake system, when it's pulled, the cable is pulled, it's going to push the brake pads together, mainly just from the back side. So I can't really do much as far as adjusting the cable. There's really no adjustment on the cable needed. What's happening is these ceramic pads are just rubbing ever so slightly on the disc here, and there's really not much we can do about it with the system that we have here. I just know that this little system here, this little spring-loaded doohickey, is not really doing its job. There's no adjustment here for this. It is what it is. So what I'm going to do here is, when I put this back on, I'm just going to loosen these two bolts enough to where it's not rubbing as much. And I'm also going to use my favorite thing in the world, some WD-40, to help reduce some of the noise it's making. So hopefully that will reduce some of the noise that is being made when the disc is rubbing up against these ceramic pads. There's really not much that's going to go wrong. I've been using mobility scooters. I have a bad knee. I've used them all the time. I have mobility scooters. All of the mobility scooters that I personally own have discs and brakes that, you know, are supplemental to the electromagnetic brakes, which, by the way, are not adjustable either. And I never use them. I never ever use the hard braking system. I just rely on the automatic braking system. So I think it's kind of unnecessary anyway. And honestly, I wish they didn't have them. But I guess for regulations, FDA approval, scooters that go over 4 miles per hour or 5 miles per hour might need them. And that's probably why they're there. Okay, so now This isn't even moving at all. So obviously that little spring probably didn't go in the right place. Want to get that little spring thingy to fall right in that groove as you're pushing up against it. And it's easier said than done, but we're gonna try and just push it into place and then tighten up. I can still hear it rubbing a little. There's really not much we can do. I'm gonna put the tire back on and see if the noise has started to go away a little bit. I'm gonna spray a little bit of WD in there as well and see if the noise goes away. Get that Woodruff key to stay in place. Getting that Woodruff key lined up with the notch can be tricky sometimes. So I'm gonna use my finger here to hold it in place. There we go. And now when I spin the wheel, I don't hear the squeaking anymore. And that's all we can do, folks. We really don't need to adjust this any further. Well, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and put my washer on, put the nut back on, and say thank you one more time for watching in this case. This isn't a NASCAR or a performance bike or anything that you're gonna be racing competitively. So the braking system is not gonna be as intricate as you'd expect in some of those Formula One race cars. But sometimes you just need to loosen things up, tighten things up, put a little WD-40, and you're gonna get the noises to go away and the performance out of the brakes that you would expect on a mobility scooter. Remember, it's a mobility scooter. It's not a sophisticated competitive racing machine, folks. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm Sergio with Mobility Direct. Until next time, everybody, have a great day.